Charles, you were making a point in terms of this whole notion of black folks voting for Republicans. Here's I think is the big problem, and that is when you say it really came down to the whole Chris Christie deal. Okay, well, he's not conservative, but he's Republican. Well, the fact of the matter is there are different layers of conservative.
That's right.
There are people who are fiscal conservative,
right,
who are socially liberal.
That's right.
There are people who are social conservatives, okay, who are fiscally liberal, if you want to call it that. And so part of the problem is there's no one thing that's conservative. Just like there's no one thing that's a progressive or a liberal. That to me is the mistake. And so from the Republican Party standpoint, if they don't embrace the idea that I might want to talk about more stuff when you're talking to black folks other than with the party of Lincoln, then you might have a shot.
Other than social issues.
Right.
You know, let's start talking about access to capital. Let's start talking about building the black entrepreneur class.
But it rarely happens. And I'm telling you, I have sat down with many a white Republican, and I said, this is very simple. One, if you don't talk to black folks and you don't listen to black folks, you're not going to get black votes. And there's evidence. Ask George Vinovich when he ran for United States Senate. He also was governor, also was mayor. Ask Mike Huckabee when he was governor in Arkansas. So there's evidence of Republicans who are white getting black votes. Joe.
Bush in Texas.
Look, I've come from, both of us are from Ohio. I grew up in Ohio. Same time. I grew up in Michigan. I remember a William Milliken, who was a Republican. Well,
George Romney.
Let me deal with my person. I remember William Milliken, who understood as Detroit goes, so goes the state of Michigan. And he actually got the support of Coleman Young, who was on the Democratic National Committee, because people vote their interest. Now, let me say something else that Charles mentioned, and that is in reference to this whole issue of race. What I'm very disappointed in is that the black Republicans don't speak out against the Hannitys, the Limbaughs, the Becks, who have pimped the Republican Party, who are brand new, modern day Jim Crows, as we say. They're not Jim Crow, they're James Crow Esquire. And that's what upsets a lot of black folk, is you remain silent when most black people can hear that dog whistle, and black Republicans, you go, where are they? How come you're not speaking out? And then I think you get more black folk who say, you know what, I don't mind being associated with people like that.
Well, it's interesting that we named all of the white Republicans that got strong black support, but you don't name black Republicans who got strong. I was elected not only to city council, not only as mayor, not only as secretary of state and treasurer, for the range from 25 to 52% of the African-American vote. I was considered to be the most conservative Republican on the statewide ticket. But I, in fact, always placed the order in the African-American community.
So here's why I didn't name it. Because the reality is, who's running the party? Who are the folks in leadership positions? So what I'm talking about, Ken, is not simply an individual who ran. What I'm talking about, though, Ken, how many black Republicans hold statewide office?
I can tell you right.
A handful. A handful.
More than black Democrats.
It's not. I'm not comparing Republicans to Democrats. I'm making a point, and what I'm trying to say is, if you are a Republican, namely white, let's just be honest, and you're trying to run what I'm saying. But Ken, there is a way to attract black support, which is the point that Charles was making. So it's not a question of, well, I'm a black guy who ran versus a white guy. I'm simply saying there are more. You got more white Republicans who are running. If you want more black support, talk to black folks. Listen to them.
All I'm saying to you, Roland, is that whether it was with Jack Kemp when I was undersecretary at HUD, whether it was when I was mayor of Cincinnati and worked with George Voinovich when he was mayor of Cleveland. I'm just saying, when we talk about Republican success stories, let's not just talk about the white Republican success stories.
But the Jack Kemps of the world also get vilified because a lot of his positions.
Exactly.
Oh, he was.
No, he's saying today.
I said today.
But again,
I'll take y'all's word for it.
Well, first of all, if McDonald and Christian couldn't get invited, I don't know how Kemp get invited. But go ahead.
Jack is a different kind of guy.
But there's an old
pro-life, he was pro-traditional marriage, and he was pro-economic growth.
And he got vilified by people in the party all the time.
No, he's always
the old adage is you got to face it to fix it. And I keep hearing the denial talk. The reality is everything you're saying and what Charles is saying is exactly right about the modern-day Republican Party. You have been successful, Ken, but how far back do I got to go to keep talking about Kemp and talk about Mayor John Lindsay and talk about all these Republicans of days ago, like Christy Whitman, my former boss? She doesn't even exist in the party anymore. She probably could have been the first female president, but she was pro-choice, and we don't like that.
You have Rand Paul. I can keep going.
Didn't
right
get
on
picked
down the
for
line.
the VP slot. I'm just saying.
I don't think Rand Paul will get many black votes.
I don't.
Go ahead, Charles.
Get my vote.
Go ahead, Charles. Wait, he can't even get Charles. And we know he ain't liberal.
No, he can get my vote.
Charles, go ahead.
But seriously, though.
That's diversity in the
It's diversity.
Republican Party.
I think seriously, we need in the Republican Party, as far as I'm concerned, as Ken said, we can attract black voters. We can attract blacks to the Republican Party. When we threw the first Tea Party on the south side of Chicago, 4/15/2009, we didn't advertise that Michael Steele was coming. Michael Steele came, showed up in the VON Legacy Room. 300 people were there. They were there to see myself and Lee Walker. Instead, Michael comes in. The crowd went wild. We would have had 1,000 people there. But the guy,
the same Michael Steele couldn't get credentials to the Republican National Committee.
Listen, exactly. I remember. But the gentleman who brought him there became the Illinois chairman to the Republican Party. He saw all those black people in the room with Michael and us. But he never tapped into it.
But here's what's interesting. I think to Sophia's point and Joe's point about dog whistles. Yeah. A group of black Republicans in Illinois put on this big, this is several years ago, put on this major presentation to the statewide party. When it was time for questions, the first question was, now look, y'all need to understand, we're not going to support welfare. And the brothers and sisters said, who the hell brought up welfare? Did nobody bring up welfare? All the stuff you talked about, that's what they brought up. And so it points to, and again, this is part of the problem, this sort of this mindset in terms of, well, if we want to appeal to African Americans, so what's on the table? Affirmative action, welfare. And I keep saying, black folks are concerned about a whole lot of stuff beyond welfare. Housing.
When you talk about Mitt Romney, let's talk about Mitt Romney. Let's talk about Mitt Romney. I tried to get in touch with the Romney campaign,
See, that's what I'm talking about.
And I couldn't do it. I threw Tyra Walls. She was running the black thing, right? Bottom line was, we had a group of ministers, 39,000 ministers, the coalition of African American pastors, 39,000 strong. We support traditional marriage. We want to talk to Romney. He couldn't even get a return phone call. The RNC wouldn't return this guy's phone call. Just a phone call, Roland. We're talking about 39,000 black ministers supporting.
Romney was saying, too, Charles, during the campaign. He said, well, what did he say after? The reason he lost is because the people color voted for Obama because they wanted free stuff. That's the stupidity of how Republicans talk.
This is the problem that I had with Romney.
Say it again, Ken?
We're getting consistency on it. That was a real foolish statement.
Well, the problem that I had with Romney.
But at the same time, as I will say that's a foolish statement, do not narrow the Republican and conservative message. We are for economic growth and job creation.
Okay, Ken, I'm not narrowing the message.
I know.
The party is narrowing the message. And what I'm saying is, if you want to appeal to black, Ken,
you take out some stupid statements about and paint with a broad brush. But if you begin to look at the platform, if you begin to look at where these things are working at the state level,
Ken,
it's about economic growth, it's about job creation.
I agree.
It's about good schools.
I agree.
Right.
But Ken, here's the problem. This is a show on a black network, talking to black people. And the hardest thing in the world is to get a non-black Republican on the show. Now, I'm just letting you know. We have provided an invitation, open invitation to the entire Republican conference in the House and the Senate. And in 4 years, 4 have shown up. Tom Price twice, Pete Olson, we talked about XL Pipeline. It was also Alan West and Steve King of Iowa. The press secretaries called a brother who used to work in RNC communication staff, and they said, we don't know, we're scared to go on the show. And he said, if y'all want to talk to black people, you might want to talk to Roland and his show, but the fact is, if they're scared to even come on to this kind of show, I'm telling you right now, you ain't going to talk to black folks in the hood.
I will get the chairman of the Republican Party on your show.
Well, actually, well, first of all, we were trying for 15 months, but he and I had lunch on Friday. We'll see what happens. Joe, final comment.
I'm going to back Roland up on this. The entire, first of all, we know that the president goes on Fox. We know he talks to to the people who totally disagree with him, who have vilified him, and he does that. And he obviously is very smart at doing it because he goes face to face with his enemy. Roland is absolutely right. We never received one email from the Romney campaign. Not one email from the Romney. And when I look at people like J.C. Watts, and who are very bright people who I could vote for. I think I might have lived in Ohio, may have voted for you. I don't know, but I have to go back and check. But the reality is, I just wish that black Republicans would step up, call a spade, talk about, We do. Well, then let me let me put it this way. Then here's your problem. I wish white Republicans would respect you.
No question. Now check this out.
I got to cut it off there. I went way over time. I certainly appreciate it. We'll have the conversation again and bring some white Republicans with y'all next time. Charles, Sophia, Ken, Joe, we certainly appreciate it. We'll do it again. Thanks so much.